post the link to Twitter.
Did you get the quiz
Quizzes. I got the quizzes up because they're only one word /golf
right?
/pigeons. Um, yeah. So I open up YouTube, right, to
Mm-hmm.
because I want to post that we're streaming right now. I was about to say
Right.
curling because there's all kinds of curling videos here, but there's a page that we subscribe to, and a YouTube page that I don't know if you've noticed. They're called the Hotbox by Any Fans, and
No.
these are a group of people that I ran into at the Super Bowl when I was outside of it, and they talked to me, and I was trying to I forget if I actually talked to them on the radio. I think I must have. I think I probably put them on the air. And anyways, they were filming me the whole time, and I just saw that they released a video 11 hours ago, and it says free Super Bowl tickets part 2. Kevin from K Earth. It's like in the title of the video. Kevin from K Earth
Nice.
101 exclamation mark. So I haven't watched it yet. It's about a 6-minute video. They look like they're just starting off with their YouTube channel, and I I'm giving them
Hmm.
publicity right now if anyone wants to go see this video, but I don't know entirely what the it looks like they go to different events and they interview people. I'm not really sure, but that is very funny that was the first thing I saw when I opened up. So,
All right. And hey, it's working on Facebook this week.
all right, live streams a go.
They are.
That's fantastic. Okay. I am have we do we is it this is something that we promote? I'm going to put it on the tweeter.
Yeah, it is.
There we go. Okay, cool. Is that what I sound like? Oh my gosh. All right. So what else is going on?
I'm getting actually somewhat organized with my Safari usage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they've got this thing in Safari now called tab groups,
Oh, yes.
and
Okay.
so it's kind of like instead of having different windows for each project or something with all your tabs for that project, you can now have one window, and you have different tab groups.
That's good. Yeah.
And those tab groups go across devices. So if you've got an iPhone or an iPad, they have
Wow.
the same tab groups. So you can just go to that tab group, and it would, it's got all the tabs that you have in that uh, group.
So are you the type that I mean, these pages are they're open all the time, basically?
Yeah.
Like if,
Oh
if
yeah.
before this tab group organization, if we were to open up a web browser for you, would there be just tons of windows open, tons of tabs?
Yeah. I mean, normally, like, if I was working on a school project, I had my Safari window of normal stuff, and then I would have a Safari window specifically for that project.
Yeah. So now
Um,
this would have saved you a lot of brain energy in college then, the
yeah.
organizing tabs.
Yeah. Now I just have a list of things like on the left that says podcast or job search.
Great, 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 great. That's awesome. Yeah, mine gets a little bit crazy, mainly from this now, because I'll do a bunch of research on
Hmm.
whatever our topic is, and I'll be too afraid to close a window in case I need to reference back. I've gotten better now. Now I just copy and paste the info I need and put it in my Word document so I can share it on the air,
Right.
and then I just panic when I don't know something. So,
Yeah.
so
I mean, right now for the podcast, I've got like 12 tabs open.
okay, yeah,
Like I've got our Twitter page. I've got Patreon.
uh
I've
huh,
got
uh huh,
Castos because I like to always check our analytics, and
yeah.
so I just have that always open on analytics, and I just refresh it, and it tells us whether or not we had a good day or bad day.
Got it,
Which
got it.
Thursday was a good day. We had like 30 listens on Thursday. So
Wow, so that's for an
yeah,
episode release, which is do you
yeah.
think they were all for the same episode for the new one?
They weren't. They weren't.
Okay.
Give me a moment, and I'll tell you.
All right.
Because if I just go like, hey, I need 2022 March. We'll just do like March 3rd uh, altogether. Um, we had 15 listens for our rugby episode, and then 12 listens to Where the Wild
Wow.
Things Are.
You said 14 for the rugby one?
15.
On 15 for that day
Yeah.
alone. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of a lot for an episode that's a
Right.
week old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think the majority of our listeners listen the day of. I think they kind
Yeah.
of sometimes get behind a week or so.
Yeah. I think we have a handful of them that do that, but I think most are behind. And I'm kind of being reminded of that by getting sort of
Mhm.
random texts from people who admittedly tell me like, "Hey, I'm behind, but I'm catching up. Like
Right.
I'm gonna listen to all of them," which is really nice. I mean, I don't expect them to, but that's cool that they seem to want to.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
we are coming up on almost a year's worth of episodes. So
we're about 3 months away, right? March, April, May, June, because we started, if I remember from our half year anniversary celebration, our first episode was like June 22nd or something around
yeah,
there.
something like that.
Yeah. uh,
I don't know. Go
yeah.
take the quiz again.
Wait till we have an episode 52 extravaganza. That's gonna be wild. What one thing I don't know at all right now is our win loss totals. I have
I, d-
I do think I'm still up, but I don't think by much. I think maybe by a couple, if that.
I
Um,
think we need our resident log ring counter,
I know.
Grayson, to tell
Yeah.
us that.
Yeah, I our ring counter. That's great. I do feel like, I mean, look, if Grayson wants to, I'm not going to stop him, but I do feel like that's a project that I'm going to dig into when I, like when I get this
Right.
magical free time that people talk about having, like,
Right.
because all I got to do is go find. Oh, look at that! Is that your normal dog?
Yeah.
Oh, why does he? Something I thought he. Oh, what's his name again?
Benny.
Benny. Oh my gosh, Benny. For those of you that can only hear, is he's a black kind of longer haired dog. He's a little is okay. Here's my question, John. Is that dog little or does he just look little because you're a giant?
Both. He's a Chihuahua Terrier mix, so
Okay.
he's not super tiny,
Okay.
but he's a small. I would call him a small dog.
It'd be hilarious if you put him down and he was a Great Dane. It's like, oh,
Right.
it's just because you're 9 feet tall. That's why.
No, really, he's a Labrador.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
if
so
anyone
cute.
without other dogs or without small children wants him,
Oh. Yeah, you trying to find a home for him besides you?
kinda. He's
Yeah.
not that great with babies and little
Yeah.
kids, and so
Gotcha.
it's been kind of he gets kind of pushed to half of the house, and
He's got to be
it's not
the only one, huh?
ish.
Yeah.
He's great with Jacob. Like he loves Jacob. So
Gotcha.
older kids are fine. It's just younger, like toddlers and stuff.
Yeah.
Because
Dogs engaging with toddlers is such an interesting thing to watch because
it is.
they don't know what they're seeing. I think they
Yeah.
think it's another animal, but they also see that it's bipeded, right? It's
Yeah.
on 2 feet, so that's weird.
Yeah. I mean, and Charlie can't do that, so he just kind of thinks it's another animal, and he's a very anxious dog in general.
Gotcha.
Like
Gotcha.
he loves riding in cars, but he just gets way too anxious riding in cars.
He gets like nervous and kind of
No, he just
I
gets
guess
too
anxious.
excited.
Got it. Got it. He can't
He's just
settle down.
like crying and and
He
like
can't contain himself.
yeah.
Um,
And if you say
so
pup cup, then his ears perk up.
do they just perk up?
Yeah.
Was that a
Pup
treat?
cup. You want to get a pup cup? Starbucks.
Oh, a
that would be-
puppuccino.
yeah. We call them
Yeah.
pup
Is that
cups out here in the Midwest.
do they call them pup cups? Yeah, I think they call them puppuccinos here. I didn't realize there was maybe there. Well, if anyone's listening to this, if there's a regional difference between pup cup and
Yeah.
puppuccino, that's a great thing to think about.
We're not pretentious.
Why? Because we give our dogs. Oh yeah, because we call them puppuccinos out here. I know that is so like LAE. It's just so LAE. What was I get it's funny because I was thinking about how LA it is that I told you that yesterday. Oh yeah, my neighbor down the street works on TV
Right?
sets for TVs, and I'm like, yeah, that's something John probably wouldn't come to me saying he experienced it where he's at.
I mean, I had, you know, acquaintances in high school where their stepdad was Jim Davis, the creator of
Oh,
Garfield.
that's pretty solid. Wow, that's a big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
and actually in high school, like he was in jazz band with me, and like it was like Garfield's like 25th anniversary or something like that, and they were like holding a cruise, like somewhere off Florida coast,
Uh-huh.
and they actually invited the jazz band to come and play.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
No, wait, your high school's jazz band?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, I mean, his stepson was in the jazz band, so you know,
Yeah. Oh my god. And
why
were
not?
you in the jazz band?
I was.
You were. Did you go?
The, no, because this was like this year after 9/11 happened, and the school
Oh,
board was afraid something would happen.
that sucks. The
I'm
terrorists
like,
won. The terrorists won,
right,
John.
exactly. I'm like, what terrorist is going to bomb a cruise ship
I shouldn't
full of
laugh.
cartoonists?
Yeah, totally. I
I
know. That
mean,
is, yeah, way to send us a message.
right.
Uh, wow. Dang, man, that would have been incredible.
Well, and actually, they never made a decision on it. They just tabled it. Like the school board
Yeah.
just tabled it. Like they didn't even talk about it.
So, John, are you saying there's technically still a chance you could get on that cruise ship and play in the jazz band? It's still tabled?
Maybe, maybe
Wow, that's funny. What
if
a
I can
story.
even remember how to play the sax.
Is that what you're playing? The alto sax?
Yeah.
No, just regular old sax? Tenor sax?
Tenor and Barry.
Wow, Barry, look at you. Barry sax, baritone. That's
Hmm.
short for baritone.
It is.
Oh man, that's right. We've talked about this. I would love to hear you wail on a sax. That would be incredible. One of these days.
Um, you potentially can
Are you on the
on
internet somewhere?
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how Manchester would have like the faculty and staff band.
Oh yeah. Uh huh. Yep.
I played in that a couple times.
No way. For
Yeah.
what? Like different graduations and things, or
No,
what
it
were
was
you?
just like a convo that they would do like every couple of years or
How
every
did
year.
you get in on that?
They needed horns, and so
No one
I played
hornier than
horns.
John Largent, right there. I sat on that one. I was like, did I make the horny joke? No, that's too low hanging fruit. And then I did it anyways, you know. Cool. So I've left my dogs out today.
That's
They've been
fine.
pretty good, but I do think in the long run they're going to be quieter in here. Um, one last well, yeah, one last thought that came to mind I was going to share earlier. So I'm on a
Yeah.
walk late last night, like 1 a.m. with my dogs,
Hmm.
and two like enormous coyotes are running through the street, which is, it's kind of a problem here in LA. The coyotes coming down from the foothills and just destroying the cat population. And every time I see a missing cat poster, I'm just like, oh,
Hmm.
that cat's not coming home, you know? And these,
Right.
like, prior to these two coyotes, maybe I'd seen one in a similar fashion before, but the only other coyote I'd ever seen was up at Camp Laverne, and it was like this little frail, skinny thing, looked terrified. These coyotes were like buff and huge and had beautiful tails, and you could tell they were well fed. And
Hmm.
I don't know. For the most part, I tend to think that coyotes are pretty afraid of humans and aren't going to do much. But I've also
Right.
heard that city coyotes can be pretty bold. So I don't know. But we sort of went towards them.
Hmm.
My dogs were barking, and I was sort of letting them. The coyotes were moving away from us, so it's not like I was walking towards them as they were
Right.
coming towards me. They were getting pushed away, and they weren't freaked out, but they were definitely looking at us and changed directions. But I just kept going about my walk, and my streets are pretty dark here. We don't have a lot of street
Hmm.
lights. Oh, hi. So I thought that was mine. I was like, who's that? Who's at my place? Um, yeah. I was scared. I was scared a coyote was going to come jumping out, but I took it upon myself to protect the neighborhood and their kittens. I thought I'm going to keep weaving through these streets with these dogs and tell these coyotes that these streets belong to us, to Coconut and Stella and Kevin, and leave our cats alone. And I hope, God, I hope a cat didn't get eaten last night. I
Hopefully
just,
not.
yeah. So, anyways.
Yeah, I'm searching YouTube right now for.
Oh yeah, you did find it?
I mean, there's a bunch of Otto Winger experience videos, but I don't
Mhm.
think there's any from. Um, there's stuff from 2010, but I need like 2009 or before.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would be the latest. Uh-huh. Hey guys, take it easy. Yeah, let's not fight because you make so much loud noise in the background. Yeah, there's my boy. Yeah, come say hi. Come up here. There's Coconut. Those that are live streaming. Yeah, you gotta look towards the camera, bud. Yeah. Coconut's the weirdest dog I've ever had, without a doubt, but I love him to death. And look at that! Look at his little spotted ears. He's got one black ear and one. He doesn't like me forcing him. Okay, what do you think? Should we do our podcast thing?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to reach out to Deborah to see if she's got any links to videos from then, and we can maybe throw that in
I was gonna
somewhere.
say I think it would be great if you found one and we could throw up a short clip of it on socials or something, and yeah, that'd be cool. Or just share the link somewhere.
Yeah, we'll see what I can find.
Cool. Do you? I think I'm supposed to ask first on this one for some reason because I think I
Yeah,
am.
I asked last
Yeah.
time.
So I'll ask first about pigeons,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, man, and then we'll get into tidy up and do our checklist, and then yeah, and then we'll go. What do you think? You ready for the real thing?
I think
You want,
so.
you want another second?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, I'm gonna do the intro. Everything's set. Here we go. 3, 2,
Cool.
1. John likes tech and lives in Indiana, you know. Kevin likes the Dodgers and talks on the radio. John plays games on Xbox and on his Nintendo, while Kevin runs around LA with his mustachio. It's the Lack of Genius podcast in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast. John Largent.
Kevin Schatz.
In the flesh. Yeah, you got us. You got
Digitally.
2 names today. Yeah.
In the digital flesh.
In the digital flesh. Here we are. You know what, John? I sometimes wonder for our podcast, like, sometimes we get asked how we pick our topics, and there's
Yeah, I
a
get
variety.
that all the time.
There's a variety of ways. I mean, I guess we could each give our own version of how do you answer that when somebody asks you that question? What do you say?
Sometimes it's based off of, if there's any major holidays or something or events happening, then we'll do that. Or sometimes just random things that come to our mind.
And that's exactly the point that I guess I'm trying to make is like on an episode like today, we have 2 very random topics that don't seem to have a match with each other if you were just looking at them objectively
That's
on
true.
their own. Our
Although
topics for today,
if you happen to look at the Facebook live stream, you might get an answer as to why it's those topics.
Oh, did you so what did you write on the Facebook live stream?
I believe I put something to the effect of our grandfather hobbies.
Things our grandpas loved.
Yep.
Essentially, that's what we're doing. I for a while so I'm doing pigeons. Yes, the bird that you see on the street everywhere you go, and we'll get much more into it. And John, you're doing golf, the sport of golf.
Mm-hmm.
Where you try to hit a ball in a hole in as few strokes as possible. And so it's funny because I think about this, you look at it at paper and you're like, pigeons and golf, that doesn't make any sense. I think I prefer these episodes where they're just so random and far apart because we're just learning about 2 very different subjects. But I will say, last week we did Where the Wild Things Are. We did the book and movie, and I guess there was a certain tidiness to it, and we do tidy up sections. So I guess we give people a little bit of everything.
Right.
If you,
I know that part of why you wanted to do this episode was because it would have been your grandfather's birthday not too long ago, and so that kind of got it on your mind. And
yeah, thanks for remembering that. We just celebrated what would have been his 100th birthday. He he did pass away about actually 10 years ago. 10 years ago now. And my grandpa was Grandpa Russell Schatz, Dr. Russell Schatz. He was a doctor. He specialized in allergies, which is very interesting because he raised and bred pigeons for shows. And I'll get much more into this. There's a good chance I'll accidentally spoil an answer, but that's okay because I'd rather you know. But yeah, he bred pigeons in order to give them a certain look, certain characteristics, much like there are dog shows where there's a breed standard, like when you see the Westminster Dog Show and you see them looking over everything and the tail's supposed to be like this and the ears are supposed to be like this. Same thing for pigeons. And we're in his old like office room. There are trophies and ribbons. I have a belt loop with a pigeon on it that I love and I treasure. So pigeons, even though I know there are people who are quite frankly disgusted by pigeons.
Right.
People are afraid of birds, and I think specifically of pigeons. I am the complete opposite, where I adore these creatures, and they really are a symbol of love and serenity and stability to me because they represent my grandpa. So that's what I'm doing. And so then I asked you, I was like, what did did any of your grandparents have hobbies? And so tell us how you landed on golf.
I think golf is something that actually both of my grandpas did.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I think our both of our or at least one of my grandpas. My other one's still alive, but my grandpa Charlie, he died 10 years ago this year. So
Wow.
our grandfathers died around the same time. It sounds.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. 2012.
Yeah, I mean, and I can always remember that because that was the year Jacob was born. So I just have to think how old he is, and then that's how long ago he
Wow.
died. And then Grandpa was 50 years older than me. So yeah, weird how you come up with ways to remember things like that. But no, yeah.
I don't know if I should be embarrassed to tell you the way that I remember that it's 10 years, but other than my dogs, what would you say is something that is almost like a son to me? Is that a weird question?
I would say your nephew, but I don't think
Yeah.
he's old enough.
It would be, but my nephew is a better answer. It's my mustache. The last day that I shaved my upper lip was, I know this is sad, but it was the day of my grandpa's funeral. And I had been toying around with growing it back because I had the mustache
Mhm.
previously. And I just something told, like, I think I was already sort of starting to grow it back, and then the death happened, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna have a dirty mustache for my grandpa's
Right.
funeral, and I was speaking at it, so I shaved it, and I know, again, I know this is a sad story, but I think there's something fascinating, even though it's a silly mustache, there's
Mhm.
something fascinating about new life,
yeah.
your son being born, a thing being grown on my face, and the reason I'm kind of planting this mustache seed now is because on my mustache's 10th birthday, which is the weekend of Cinco de Mayo, we're gonna make sure we do something mustache related for an episode. Don't you worry.
So it sounds like he died the month before my grandpa did.
Okay, yeah,
so,
yeah, it was in May. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Wow.
At least I think it was June. Yeah.
So did you have more to say about golf and your grandparents?
No, I mean
Grandpa?
it's just something that growing up, Grandpa Charlie would take me to the driving range. I occasionally actually go around the course. And the last time I probably actually played golf was like 2004, like the day before I graduated high school. And it was both grandpas and I. We went to a local course and played. So
What's your driving game like? Can you hit a ball pretty far?
I
Don't
maybe
know. I just assume since you're freaking Paul Bunyan over there, I just figure you could probably crush a golf ball.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, it might be more like Happy Gilmore, but
Hey, nothing wrong with the way he hits the ball. He drives that thing. He did post a video on the 10th anniversary of Happy Gilmore, 20th anniversary, something like that,
Mhm.
of him doing the Happy Gilmore drive, and that made my heart so happy to see him do that. Well, I am considering this a bit of an opportunity to honor our grandparents and
Mhm.
allow their legacy. Though I know one of your golf loving grandparents is still alive, but I think we can still honor a legacy of what they've taught us, what they brought to this world, and celebrating all grandpas around the world. So looking forward to getting into the quiz, but we're gonna tidy some things up first.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Tidy up before we go any further with the show. Tidy up before we go fix our mistakes tonight. I wanna get it right. Tidy up.
I have heard you. Schitt's Creek. I heard you. If you listened to last week's episode, you know what I'm talking about. I couldn't come up with the name of that TV show. Well, I hear you. Schitt's Creek. Yes.
And for those of you who don't know about the show, no, he is not using foul language.
Yes.
It is the name of the people. It is like a German spelling of shits.
The last name Schitts.
It's like Schlitz beer without the L.
very close to my last name. You could have a Shots Creek, really, SCH. Yeah, so I could not come up with that name to save my life. So there it is. So here, what do we got today, John? We got a couple things. Let's start with what was this Uncle Dale, by the way?
It was, yeah. He sent us a message on Facebook, which is something that actually Instagram and Facebook, you can message us things. You know, you don't have to do it publicly. You can message us directly.
Slide in our DMs.
Yeah. But yeah, no, they had just evidently listened to the Olympic episode last Thursday, and they had some questions in relation to our Olympic episode. The first one pertaining to the bobsled.
Yes.
And their question was if they used the brake at all during the run or only at the end.
Yeah, which is a great question, and that is something I learned in my research, that they don't touch the brakes. The brake man literally just gets down and ducks his head and doesn't touch those brakes at all. There's no strategy that the brakes use. That's why you see so many wipeouts, because if you have to take the turns at just the right angle, or you're going to wipe out completely. So they only pull those brakes at the very end. That's a very good question, Uncle Dale.
And then they had two related to curling. And I know that, you know, if you've paid attention to our social, you'll know that Kevin has gone curling.
I am a curling expert now. And
yeah,
best friend with Justin Turner.
And I think Kevin can kind of answer the first question that he had was, you know, what specifically are they doing to the ice when they're using the brooms?
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got knowledge of it from just learning about it, but Kevin, you've got firsthand knowledge, so.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is I know you already know this, but yeah, they literally taught us, like, it is melting the ice just a little bit. The friction is melting the ice to make it more slick, so that the stone goes further. And it is incredible what a difference it actually makes. I know from being both the sweeper and the thrower, like, I'll throw one and it feels like it's not even going to get close to making it, and the sweeping just keeps that thing going. So yeah, it literally melts the ice just a tiny bit. One thing we didn't get into a whole lot was how much it affects the actual curl, because we were just kind of taught the release, like the person throwing it does twirl it one direction or the other to make it curl, but you can allow the ice to melt more on one side to allow it to curl. We did not get into specifics of that, so I'm not going to claim to be an expert.
And the second question is, what happens if someone accidentally touches the stone while sweeping? You know, it kind of depends on which stone it is, but it becomes a burned rock or a burned stone. And then the opposing team has kind of one of three options. They can just ignore it, pretend it doesn't happen. You know, if it works in their favor, why not? You know, they can try to estimate where they think the stones would have ended up if it hadn't been touched, or they can remove it from play.
Yeah.
That's kind of seen as the most aggressive thing that could be done, and it is fairly aggressive. And so I think it's normally the first two. And I wouldn't honestly be surprised if the first one of just ignoring it isn't the thing that happens the most. Just from getting the feeling that, you know, kind of like with Ultimate, curling is kind of this, you know, it's an honor thing, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
it wasn't intentional.
You're there to have. Yes, you're there to compete and win, but you're also there to have fun and, you know.
Those are my favorite kind of sports. Yeah, I like that. And also, like, if you're bad enough that you're going to touch that stone, maybe you need all the help you can get. So let's not punish you, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, and especially if it's an accidental thing, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we did touch the stone in our little practices here and there. We came very close. It's all right. That thing keeps moving, and it's like, I got to pull this broom out of the way. Yeah. It was quite an adventure.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I got one more tidy up thing.
Sure.
You know, we haven't made mention of this in a while, mainly just because of life and everything that came up. We are still working on merchandise.
Yes.
So if you're worried that, you know, that's not going to happen, don't worry. It is. We're working on it. So
we're going to get all kinds of pretty things. In fact, John, we were going to do this during Tidy Up, but let's get into quiz time, and we'll have a segue that has something to do very brand new that affects you with potential merchandise. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, let's get into it.
It's time to take a quiz or two. Lack of Genius podcast doing this for you. You may fail, but it ain't no lie, baby. It's quiz time. Don't really want this quiz to be tough. I just want to pass one because I failed enough. It might sound crazy, but it ain't no lie, baby. It's quiz time.
I will admit I was dancing along to that, and I realized it's not good. It's not good for me to look at myself while dancing, because I realized how hard I had to concentrate just to stay on the beat. This is not a skill of mine. All right, so yeah, as I mentioned prior to that jingle, something
Which you may
brand
want
new.
to turn down.
Yeah, I'm trying this. This Riverside thing. It's just. In fact, I'm just gonna.
We're getting there.
Yeah. As my dogs bark, give them a moment. So here's what we're doing. We are, being that this episode is about pigeons and golf, we want to hear from you, and we are giving you the opportunity to win a brand new Lack of Genius sticker, which it would have been good if I had one. I do have one to show, in fact. Just
You
here
mean
on
like
the
this,
screen.
like these?
There it is. Look at John's screen. Yeah, they're great stickers. This is the logo that was designed by the lovely Jeff McAvoy. And he was also nice enough to donate these stickers to us to be able to give as prizes for situations like these.
Yeah.
Now, all of our patrons have one of these stickers right now. So I realized that if our patrons do this, I guess we'll call it a contest. If our patrons do this, maybe not a contest, but more of a just a fun little thing that we're doing.
Scavenger hunt.
Scavenger hunt. Yeah, let's call it a scavenger. Oh, should we call it a scavenger hunt? No, because that doesn't include you. That's something different. Here's what we're gonna have you do. And if you're already a patron, then you're just gonna get more stickers, I guess, is what we're gonna have to do. All we're asking, all we're saying is go out there and find a pigeon, or find something golf related. Take a photograph of it, post it on any of our socials, and tag us.
Yep.
The first 3 people to do that are getting a sticker sent to you. At
The
my
hashtag
own,
pigeon golf.
At my own. Oh my God, pigeon golf. Have you checked if that hashtag exists? Please hashtag.
No.
We're not going to eliminate you if you don't do pigeon golf, but you will make our day if you hashtag pigeon golf. So yeah, just if you're out and about, you see a pigeon, snap a picture of it. If you see golf somewhere, snap a picture of it, post it to your socials. And you look. Look, we understand this is there's a little bit of marketing here, right? We want to spread the word about who we are. But if you do enjoy the podcast, feel free to shout us out. But at the very least, just tag us. You can put no explanation. Here's a picture of a pigeon at Lack of Genius, and a sticker will be yours if you're one of the first 3 to do it.
Yep.
And if you're after 3, we're gonna shout you out. We're gonna applaud you. Don't worry, you will get your 12 and a half seconds of fame as we shout you out here. But yeah, let's have some fun with this. Go show us what you got. And just as a friendly reminder, we mentioned it a few times, but yeah, we are on Patreon, patreon.com/lackofgenius. We have several patrons already who we are so grateful for. So we'll take this opportunity to thank anyone who has donated literally their money to this. Obviously, thank you to anyone who has listened. We're about 9 months into this thing. We're having a blast, but we do have expenses, believe it or not. And as we are doing this once a week, it is, I'm not complaining about this, but it is time consuming and it takes work. And so donations are greatly appreciated through Patreon. It helps us run more efficiently, use new things, get more merchandise, all this kind of stuff that we want to put back to you. So,
I mean, and I know I said this in the past, but think of this kind of as our PBS, NPR thing. This is brought to you by listeners like you.
You literally are. So thank you. Yeah, we are very, John and I can't kind of speak for both of us, but I know John can speak for himself on this, that we were enjoying this a lot and we're having fun. And the amount of things that I'm learning from doing this, from John, from my own research, from listeners chiming in, it's been incredible. And I feel really grateful, and I feel like I'm in school all over again, but in a fun way. That should be our tagline: in school all over again, but in the fun way. And it'll be that long, and it'll go all the way around our sticker. Okay. Well, let's get into our bread and butter and do some quizzes. So I'm gonna ask you the first question about pigeons. Am I right on that?
Yep.
All right, let's jump in. Number 1 on pigeons: is the population of the common pigeon, this is also known as the rock pigeon or the rock dove, is it greater or less than 100 million worldwide? And just for clarification, this is if probably most people, if you visualize a pigeon, you see that kind of dark gray with sort of the rainbow like
Mhm.
tinge to it, you
Iridescent.
know. Yes, iridescent. That's the rock dove. That's the rock pigeon. The common pigeon, are there more or less than 100 million worldwide?
I'm gonna go with less than because I feel like there's been a pretty big attempt at killing them off.
So you're gonna go with less than?
Yeah.
John, that is incorrect. It is greater than. It's 120 million. As far as I know, this is up to date information. 120 million worldwide, and in Europe alone, I guess Europe must have the biggest pigeon population. 17 to 28 million feral and wild rock doves. It isn't so. Yeah, there are feral pigeons because there's also a domesticated pigeon, and we'll get into that
Right.
a little in the next question. But a lot of the pigeon population today is as a result of domesticated pigeons who then became feral, or well, I guess they don't start up, but they're just born into this world. They're no longer domesticated. And the domestic pigeon, well, I guess that's it. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That these are escaped domestic pigeons have increased the population of feral pigeons around the world. That's what I was looking for. So I actually don't know what I don't know what you're talking about pigeons being killed off, but it probably has to do with kind of what I'm alluding to, which is that the feral population's getting a little out of control, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I know that if you go to major, I don't know if they have these out, out in LA, but I know in a lot of places like monuments and stuff, or on the top, like if it's an open air pavilion or whatnot that's got rafters, you'll see all those little spikes on them.
Yep.
That's to keep the pigeons off,
Yep.
so they're
Oh
not
yeah,
pooping on stuff.
we have those. We
So
also have on billboards the spinning thing. You know what I'm talking about? It just keeps spinning
maybe,
around the top of it so that birds won't perch on it. It just keeps
yeah.
spinning around. Yep.
So I mean, I know that they can be a nuisance, and so I
Yep.
think I've heard about where they're just and they're not necessarily native,
Yeah.
like you were kind of alluding to. So that's not exactly a good thing either. So
Yeah, it is interesting, and it all kind of goes back to this idea that pigeons are kind of seen as, like you said, a nuisance, and a lot of people see them as gross, and in the city, some of them do look gross. Like
Mhm.
they they're dirty. They do carry disease. And again, there is a difference between what you see on the street and what is a domesticated pigeon, but we'll get more into
Yep.
that. But yeah, 120 million is the worldwide common pigeon population.
Okay.
All right.
So if you've ever been a fan of Robin Williams and happened to watch his Broadway stand up from, I don't know, the 90s,
Uh-huh.
then you've probably learned that golf came from Scotland. If you've not seen that, I highly suggest watching it. It is not kid friendly though. But he makes a good argument for why a stroke is called a stroke.
Enough
But
said. Enough said.
yes.
Right there.
But that being said, the modern form of golf came from Scotland. It's debated of whether or not it could have come from China. There's stuff that shows pictures where Chinese were playing something kind of similar that could have brought over to Europe with Marco Polo and others. But the modern form of golf, without a doubt, started in Scotland. But in what century did it start? The 14th, 15th, 16th, or 17th?
Yeah, and I love my century questions. So
Yep.
should we do my traditional what year did the 14th century start? The 14th century is the 1300s.
Yes.
Yeah. Woo! All right, so I'm 1 for 1, and you're saying that wasn't the question. Okay. 14th century is the 1300s, which means you just subtract 1. That's all you got to do, Kevin. Wow.
Yep.
When did modern form of golf start in Scotland? 14th, 15th, 16th. All right. Wow, 1300 sounds mighty early. 1400 sounds mighty early, but oh, wow. I don't know why. I'm looking at the 15th century. I'm looking at something as a middle choice between 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th. I'm going to choose the 15th century. That would be the 1400s. Oh, yeah. All right. Tell me more.
Yeah. It started in the 15th century. You know, it wasn't until the 1700s though that the 18 hole round, as we know it, existed. At a place called St. Andrews. At the old course at St. Andrews is the I guess the proper name.
Wow.
But yeah, so a couple hundred years there before it became the 18 holes that we know of it now. You know, some courses are 18, some courses are 9, and you just play it twice.
That's
but
right.
The first 18-hole golf course in the U.S. wasn't until 1892 in Illinois.
Oh, go Midwest.
Yeah. So,
yeah. So the interesting thing about golf to me is that it's much like we discovered with curling, that started as just take a rock and you slide it on some ice. In its most primitive form, it's here's a ball, get it in that hole in as few hits as possible. You know, here's a stick, here's a ball, get it in that hole. And it's so
Right.
fascinating to think about how it developed from there and what that might have looked like. Yeah. Also there's my extent with golfing, by the way, other than mini golf, which I do love, is what we call pitch and putt. There's a little pitch and putt golf course in Torrance, California, in the neighborhood, kind of near the neighborhood I grew up. And it's literally just, I'm trying to think how far it is, like 60 yards or whatever. It's not like you're driving this thing really far. You, in fact, can't use a driver on this course. You have to use the wedges to pop it up. And my dad and I just went there a couple weeks ago, and it was really nice. And you pitch it in, you get it on the green, and then you putt it from there. And it's a nice little family-friendly place and a place to not feel intimidated if you're like me and don't really have much golf experience. It was a blast.
I mean, we've got a Top Golf in Indy. I assume you've got one there in LA, or probably a couple. It's like these. You got like, you know, it's a multi-level building, and it's, you know, like 4 or 5 levels, and, you know, full of these little like driving range bays. And so it's just kind of
yes.
it. You know, a friend of mine said it's more like going to an arcade than an actual like driving range, because you can like have it be like a game. You know, you're just trying to, you know, do it as far out. You know, you drink, you eat food.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I can neither confirm nor deny that is a popular thing here in LA. I assume it has to be. It sounds
I
very
mean,
LA.
at least out here, like they're only closed for like 2 days out of the year.
Oh wow!
And like, but like they're heated and air conditioned, even though it's outside. Like it seems like it's always got people there whenever I drive past it.
You had me at heated and air conditioned, so maybe when I come out and visit you, and what are we gonna do? We're gonna play hide and seek. I'm gonna chop your wood. We're gonna go to the troll hole. We're gonna go to the D&D convention. We're gonna drive up to see the Highland Games, and we're gonna go to this heated and/or air conditioned driving range, Top Golf. All right.
Well, it's indoor outdoor.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
But yes. But either way,
Yeah.
it sounds very nice, and I'm looking forward to it. Let's see how you do on number 2 about pigeons. All right.
Mhm.
So in the U.S. and the U.K., which of the following is not one of the 3 major groups of breeds of domesticated pigeons? So again, just to kind of break that down, there are domesticated pigeons, and in the U.S. and U.K., there are 3 major groups of breeds of pigeons. These are things that essentially become hobbies that you do with these pigeons. So 3 of these are the major groups, and 1 is completely made up. Which one is completely made up? Is it flying and sporting, fancy, feathering, or utility?
I'm kind of torn between fancying and feathering, because I could see the organization using the term feathering instead of fancy, because feathering. I mean, flying and sporting, I could see that easily being a group, just because, you train pigeons or you breed pigeons to be, fast or something like that in a race. Do they have races? Is that a thing?
We'll find out.
Yeah. I mean, in utility, I could see that being like a carrier pigeon or a homing pigeon category. I'm going to go with feathering. I think, because fancy seem, that kind of, I feel like that's kind of what your grandpa may have done, because you said he breeded them for, how they looked. Um, but I'm going with feathering.
Feathering, you're saying, is not one of the major groups of breeds of domesticated pigeons, and you are correct. And you're correct on a couple levels there and incorrect on only one. And so that's very impressive, actually. Well, there were a couple things that were good educated guesses, but I will tidy them up for you now. So flying and sporting pigeons, yes. Is it feathering? I completely made that term up, and I'm actually kind of proud of it. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like it would be real. But flying and sporting, yeah, these are pigeons that are kept and bred for their aerial performance, and they reproduce other aerial performing birds. So yes, there is pigeon racing. In fact, I should have done some more research because I bet you it's a lot of fun to watch. But there is pigeon racing, and then also the homing pigeons, the ones you mentioned about carrying messages, those are not under the utility category. Those are also under the flying and sporting. So yeah, during war, pigeons became a big part of message delivering, because you could put these messages on the pigeons, they would deliver them, and then they would come back. There's also, like, pigeons have also been used to smuggle in lightweight packages into prisons before. I don't know whether they have a solution for that now or not. I'm guessing they look out for this. Probably more of an old timey thing.
Right.
Fancy
Was
pigeon.
it like one cigarette per pigeon?
I know. It is funny to think about these little packages. I guess in a world where, like, ounces make a big deal in terms of drugs, you don't have to put that many ounces into a package.
True.
So who knows? Pigeon fancying is indeed what my grandpa did. And as I started doing research for this, I had to text my dad, because I was like, is pigeon fancying what grandpa did? Because I never once heard that term in my life. I just knew my grandpa raised and bred pigeons. But yeah, he prepared. These are pigeons that you breed to perpetuate particular features, and then they compete against other birds in those categories. Judges decide who is the best by comparing them to others within their breed, and those are the awards that my grandpa has took home from pigeon fancying. Utility pigeon, I never in 100 years would have guessed this, but these are pigeons who are bred for their meat, and as replacement for and then they keep breeding them for meat. So the meat of pigeons is customarily referred to as squab. It's considered a delicacy in many parts of the world. My guess is that this was also more of a older thing, a thing from the past, because obviously cultivation of food and animals for food has, especially in America, we don't eat pigeon meat here. I'm sure there are people who have and do, but
I think fancy restaurants still serve squab.
Do you think so? I mean, yeah, yep. I guess when you call it squab as opposed to pigeon meat,
you don't know it's pigeon.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I don't know if I could eat squab. I don't with the connection to my.
I bet it's fairly similar to chicken and all that.
I did think about that, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was the Romans who first, like, really used them, like, in ancient times, 5,000 years ago, who bred pigeons just for meat. And I'm like, well, it's probably very close to chicken, and chickens ended up getting bigger. So
yeah, I mean, that's how guinea pigs came around, was they were raised for meat.
Yes, that's right. And I know South America, that's a big delicacy there. Yeah, so there you go. Now you know a little something about what pigeons can be bred for. And John, good job on getting that one right. You're 1 for 2.
Cool. So speaking of things that, don't seem savory, golf was banned in Scotland for a while because it was seen as a distraction to learning falconry. True or false?
Yeah, well, if you're taking people away from their falconry time, then it should be banned. I've always said that. That is so random. I'm pretty much going to choose true. I mean, look, this could be one of those situations where it's like, oh, it was actually banned because it was a distraction for something else. But I got to choose true, and I got to hear what the story is behind this. So I'm choosing true. There's something tricky. What is it?
Archery instead of falconry.
Oh, you got me. God, I wish it was falconry. Well, archery's pretty badass too, but I was so hoping it was falconry.
So it was James II, the King of Scotland, banned it as saying it was an unwelcome distraction to learning archery. And that was in 1457. Mm-hmm. James IV then lifted the ban in 1502 when he became a golfer.
5 years later, and he realized, oh my God, this is fun. Wow.
Right?
That is hilarious. Yeah. That really is such a lesson in, like Like, come on, don't resist change. Like, if
Right.
people like something, let them do it. I mean, as
Yeah.
long as it's not hurting anyone.
I mean, if you can get accurate hitting a ball like 100 yards, I mean that's just as far as an arrow from a bow and arrow, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Just not knock someone out instead of pierce them with an arrow.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah. You've been saying that for as long as
right.
I've known you, John.
Well, I mean, and I don't remember where this is, but I've seen somewhere where like that actually is a weapon. Like it's like a 10-foot long club that like is super flexible. And then like they just swing it kind of like like when someone's throwing a hammer in like track and field.
Yeah.
Like they spin around and then whack that like ball and like it's like super deadly.
That is crazy cool sounding.
Yeah.
It makes the thought that came to my head about how to weaponize hitting a ball was like a grenade that you hit, which obviously sounds terrifying because you hit an explosive. But if science these days, you could make a ball that's not going to explode when you hit it, and then and I'm sure it's very efficient to just have people with clubs hitting a ball rather than using technology. Anyways, okay. Wow. I love that bit of information that we just learned, John. Thank you for that. Okay, are we ready to move on?
I think so.
All right, we're both 1 for 2. We're stepping into number 3 about pigeons.
Mhm.
Which of the following famous person was not a pigeon fancier? And we've learned that pigeon fancying is breeding pigeons and for their looks, essentially. Which of the following of these people was not a pigeon fancier? Is it Pablo Picasso, Nikola Tesla, Charles Darwin, or Frank Sinatra?
I'm almost positive Darwin was because of wanting to deal with genetics and evolution, and studying birds in the Galapagos was one of his big things. Granted, not pigeons, but I can't. When he got back to England, I'm sure he did stuff with pigeons. Picasso was weird enough to where I feel like that was just something that he did. And then, well, I guess he wasn't as weird as Dali, but
both weird,
right? Yeah,
in their own
in different ways. And Nikola Tesla was eccentric. I believe he did stuff with pigeons as well. So I'm going with old Blue Eyes. Frank Sinatra was not a pigeon fancier.
All right, Frank Sinatra, not a pigeon fancier. John, you are correct. Way to narrow that down. Yeah, it was kind of tough for me to come up with a fourth answer because you're right. Each of these 3 people are kind of characters: Picasso, Tesla, and Darwin. I just kind of wanted so they are sort of from the same era-ish.
Not really.
Now, I guess
No.
Sinatra was. Well, I guess yeah. I guess I don't really know when Sinatra was.
Picasso was alive still in the 80s.
Oh, really? It was for some reason I thought maybe he was last century, but okay, yeah. So
No.
not really. And
Well, I mean, he
Sinatra
was last century. But,
yeah, that was last. But yeah, that's what I mean. The 20th century.
I mean, 3 out of the 4 were alive last century. Yes.
I guess that's sort of what I'm sort of. Nikola? No.
Yeah,
Let's
he
see.
was.
Tesla goes. Who goes the furthest back? Darwin.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would have been Darwin, Tesla, Picasso, then Sinatra.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I was wrong. Picasso died in the 70s.
Okay, close to the 80s.
Yeah.
Sinatra didn't. It doesn't matter. It was hard to come up with a fourth choice just because it is a hobby that in the last 50 years has kind of had declined a bit. And at least according to things I read, it's actually picking up again. People are starting to do it again. But it does. You said something about Picasso being weird and that being a qualifier for why he probably did this. And I sort of agree, though. I don't know. I don't consider my grandpa that weird of a guy.
Right. Well, I
guess,
mean, I guess weird is a little bit of a harsher term than I should have said. Eccentric, maybe.
Yeah, eccentric, left of center
yeah.
a little, and I agree with that because I even those words I don't know if they totally describe my grandpa, but maybe eccentric is right. Like I do think he was interested in things that were sort of outliers, and so I do think that had something to do with him.
Well, I mean, you said he was a doctor, and dealing with allergies and whatnot. That probably stemmed from an interest in genetics, and pigeon fancying is pure genetics. I mean,
Yeah.
so
He
I mean,
has notebooks of notes
oh yeah,
and genetics and genes and all the like stuff that's way over my head. It's so fascinating to look at.
Yeah.
But yeah, you hit it on the head. That's very much why Darwin was into it. A lot of his studies had to do with that, and he was able to
Mhm.
basically his theory and seems to be true is that every breed of pigeon traces back to the rock dove, the pigeon that we see, that black colored pigeon.
Right.
That every pigeon, much like every dog, stems from the wolf. It's just
Mhm.
it started there, and then breeding took it away. Pablo Picasso, he famously named his daughter Paloma, which means pigeon in Spanish, or a bird, but pigeon. I mean, I think that was the intent behind it.
Mhm.
And Nikola Tesla, he apparently fed the pigeons of New York City. He would nurse sick and injured ones, and of the birds, he said, "These are my sincere friends," which is very I love that. I really connect with that. And yeah, Frank Sinatra never saw a pigeon in his life, is what I'm making up right now.
And he died in 1998.
98. I knew it was relatively recently. Okay.
Yeah, and passing, like I wasn't going out looking for pigeon stuff. I think I saw something about Mike Tyson raises pigeons.
Oh, wow. Mike Tyson 100% seems like the kind of guy that would go after that. That
He's
is
definitely
totally-
eccentric.
Yes, he's very eccentric. There's when you Google, I suggest everybody Google Mike Tyson pigeons right now, because half of the photos are of him kissing a pigeon. It's just him just cuddling and kissing a pigeon. It is so freaking
It's
adorable.
because they don't have ears that he can bite off.
No, he was the ear. Oh, I get it. Yes, yeah. He loves pigeons because they don't have ears to bite off. Well done, John. Okay, man. Well, you got that right. Good job. You're 2 for 3, and I am 1 for 2 going into number 3 about golf.
Mm-hmm. What is the name of the oldest golf tournament? Now, don't forget, modern golf started in the 15th century. And this actually happens to be the oldest running tournament in the world of any sport, too, from my understanding.
Wow. That's cool.
So your options are thus: the Open Championship, the Masters, the U.S. Open, or the PGA Championship.
All right. As I take a sip of water that I'll edit out from the episode. Hang on. Yeah, wow. Okay, so because golf's been around forever, I'm gonna eliminate the U.S. Open right off the bat, because I will admit to not I know all these names, but I don't know where most of them take place, or what. I know there are places that these are held, but yeah, I'll eliminate the U.S. Open. PGA stands for Players. Is it Player Golf Association? No, that doesn't make sense. That might be it, but my thought is that the PGA is relatively new in history. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and maybe I'll be surprised. So, but I'm going to eliminate that because that's my theory. The Masters, I would say, if I were to just name a tournament off the top of my head and maybe say the most famous tournament, I would probably say the Masters, right? Now, I don't know if that means it's the longest running. And the Open Championship, like, quite frankly, I assume that's a thing, and it might be the right answer. I don't know. I'm between the Open Championship and the Masters. I'm going to choose the Masters. I'm locking it in. Oh.
It is the Open Championship, which is
Okay.
also known as the British Open.
The British Open. Yes.
It was first played in 1860.
Uh-huh.
And it's
Wow.
one of the 4 major championships. The other 3 listed are the other 3.
Gotcha.
The Open is actually, even though it's called the British Open, is actually played in Scotland.
Oh, funny.
At the Prestwick Golf Club. The other 3 championships are all in the U.S.
Okay. I kind of thought that was the case. And as far, maybe you don't know this, are they always in the same location, these 3, or do they move?
I know them. I think they're all at the same place.
Isn't one of them the something yard, the brick yard? Or is that racing?
No, that's racing. That's the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
You're saying that's a different sport than golfing.
Yes, it is. The Masters is held at the Augusta National Golf Club, which is a private golf course. Which, if memory serves, there was a lot of issues in the past with allowing black players
Oh,
to
wow.
play.
They better be past that now. Sorry, if you're watching the stream, my dog is making out with me right now.
I looks like the U.S. Open is actually the location varies. Last year it was actually played in San Diego. So
Okay, got it. All right, that makes sense.
and
yeah.
then the PGA Championship, I believe, also moves as well. This year it's in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, hey, Tulsa, represent.
And PGA stands for Professional Golfers Association of America. There's also the where is it? The United States Golf Association, the USGA,
Yes.
and then there's also an organization called the R&A. So between the R&A, which is what was originally called the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, founded in 1754. Between the R&A and the USGA, they govern the rules of golf internationally. And so they're the ones that make the rule books. And, we kind of brought this up with curling and ultimate. It's kind of built on this. On the back of the rule book, it says, play the ball as it lies, play the course as you find it. And if you cannot do either, do what is fair.
I love it.
It's that same kind of sense of, yes, you're there to play a tournament, but you're there to have fun and just try and make it be as fun as possible for everyone.
So in Happy Gilmore, when that big old thing falls down, spoiler alert, and blocks the putt to the hole, yes, the rule book states you have to hit it as it lies, but do what's fair. Maybe you clean the thing up first. But but Shooter McGavin had to shoot it off of that giant dude's foot, so it was I guess it was only if he had to do that. Then and look, and Happy nailed that shot, and it's one of the most historic golf performances of our time. So it's a good thing they went for it. It's a good thing they went for it.
I just appreciate that the R&A decided to update their name so it doesn't sound as pretentious as the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews.
I was gonna say that sounds very. It does sound very snobbish, especially the way you say it. I'm like, I don't know if I'd want to be part of the R&A.
Right.
Yeah, very cool, very good stuff. And by the way, I was thinking, okay, the Open Championship is also known as the British Open, right? But because it was first, it reminds me of the band The English Beat. That was something I learned from the ska episode. They're just known as the Beat in England, but when you're outside of England, it's the English Beat. And I'm like, oh my goodness, in England they don't have to call them the English Beat; they're just the Beat. So there you go. All right, well that's I'm 1 for 3. You're 2 for 3. You're off to a hot start. I'm trying to catch up, but let's see how you do on number 4 about pigeons. Working in a little pop culture here. I'm gonna see if you remember this.
I do.
The Animaniacs, they famously had a character of 3 pigeons known as the Good Feathers. Which of the following, and by the way, if there are young people listening, the Animaniacs, a fantastic cartoon that was on the WB network in the 90s, and then they what's the word?
They brought it back, rebooted it.
Back they reboot, for a season on Hulu or something. I haven't watched it yet, and I need to because it really was.
I watched a couple episodes. It was pretty good.
Well, one of the reasons I really admire what they do is, as someone who is trying to launch a children's project, is that they worked in that sort of smart adult humor. They sort of assumed their audience would get it, and I think that's a risk to take, but they did it perfectly. It's not easy to do. So, which of the following that I've listed below is not one of the names of the Good Feathers, which are the 3 pigeons featured on Animaniacs, which is not one of their names? We got Pesto, Brooklyn, Squit, and Bobby.
I think it's Brooklyn. It's too long of a name.
You're saying that's too long of a name?
Right.
Same amount of syllables as Bobby. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, but Bobby's a nickname. It's okay to be longer.
This is true. So what do you think? You're gonna choose Brooklyn?
Choosing Brooklyn.
All right, John. That is Correct. Yep, Brooklyn. So the three pigeons are Pesto, Squit, and Bobby. Well done, man. The reason I chose Brooklyn as a name is because these pigeons. I don't know if they ever officially said that they're in New York City or if they're in New York or in Brooklyn, but they were parodies of the Goodfellas and the Godfather movies.
Mhm.
And so they were essentially Italian pigeons who worked for what was called the God pigeon, and this big fat pigeon would show up and he'd be like, and he'd talk like that, and then only one of them could understand, and he'd say, the God pigeon says we got to do this and this. So they all had those Brooklyn accents. And yeah, I when I saw that it was Goodfellas and Godfather, I was like, oh, Good Feathers. It's a combination of both of them. That's super clever. So Squit, Pesto, and Bobby went about their adventures. The characters are based on Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, and Joe Pesci, who starred in the Goodfellas. So it was a direct homage to them. And I remember having a little McDonald's toy, which was them on what I think was a skateboard, but the three of them, you push them along and they like kind of bounce up and down. And I wish I still had that toy, but I had it for many years. And there's the Good Feathers of the Animaniacs. Good job, John. 3 for 4, man. Very impressive.
And speaking of De Niro,
Mhm.
you know, we Kevin and I text each other outside of the podcast.
We only
Yeah.
talk here. Don't tell them that.
You know, I was telling you about that making fun video on Netflix.
Oh, yes.
One of the guys on there actually does if De Niro had a big beard, it actually did he did a pretty good De Niro face.
Oh, that's good. That's funny.
His impersonation was pretty good.
I'll have to find it. That's great. All right, John. Well, you're crushing it, man. Do I even have a chance in this episode anymore? I do still have a chance, technically. You're
If you
3
get
for
the
4.
next two,
I have to get them both right, and you have to miss the last one. So there's a lot on the line here. Number 4 on golf is what we're stepping into. Ooh.
would help if I pull it up again.
I'll just read it. No.
So, what is the size of the hole in inches that a golfer is attempting to get the ball in?
Wow.
You know, the hole that Happy is telling the golf ball to go into. You know, he's yelling at it to go home.
Go to your home? It's your home. Yes, I'm familiar. So what are my choices?
2 1/4 inches, 3 1/4, 4 1/4, or 5 1/4.
I see the theme here. Yes. Wow. Oh, man, this is tough. It makes me think of basketball, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe this is a rumor, but that the hoop itself you could actually fit 2 full basketballs into. That may have to be tidied up, but I have heard that before. And
I've heard that as well.
My point behind that is that it's a deceivingly large hoop. I would have guessed it was much smaller than that. And I don't know if a golf hole is the same. If I think about a golf ball, what would I say that is? A golf ball's maybe 1.5 inches? 2 inches max. 1.5 inches. Wow. I really want to get this right. And I'm being very vulnerable by saying that, because normally I downplay how much I want something so that I'm not disappointed when it doesn't happen. I really want to get this one right. So I'm putting myself out there. I'm going to say, oh man, what's 3.25? I'm like, am I allowed to use a rule? I'm going to say 3.25. For some reason, I don't want to go much bigger than that. I'm going to say 3.25. Let me know how I did. You're crushing my dreams.
You're off by 1 inch.
Yeah, which way though? Was it 4?
Yep, it's 4 1/4.
Dang it. At least I got one of the middle ones. I was kind of close.
Yeah.
Wow.
You were. And be honest, I'm not sure how big a golf ball is.
Yeah.
But if you give me a minute, it is
We have the internet.
1.68 inches.
I was close. I said 1.5, and I thought maybe 2,
Yeah.
and then 2 was too big. It's all right. I was close.
So
on that
you
too.
could actually fit more than 2
Yeah.
side by side.
That almost made me pick one of the bigger answers, because I was kind of picturing. I was like, you could kind of fit a few golf balls in the circumference a little bit, you know?
Okay. Well, so just like in many sports, there are different sizes. So a golf ball cannot weigh more than 1.62 ounces.
Okay.
So basically a tenth of a pound. And it cannot have a diameter of less than 1.68 inches.
So it could be bigger,
And
is what you're saying.
it could be bigger. It just has to be like it has to meet those two requirements, and then it has to perform within specified velocity, distance, and symmetry limits.
I wonder if tournaments themselves also have a separate set of rules that are unique to just that tournament. you know?
Those are, from my understanding, balls are subject to testing and approval by what was the R&A, formerly part of the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, and the United States Golf Association.
Okay, got it.
And those that don't conform can't be used.
Get out of here. Yeah, super interesting because obviously there's, I would guess, the heavier a ball, the further it can go. No, am I wrong on that? The lighter. I don't know. I don't know how. Like,
Yeah,
you would think technically heavier is harder to hit, but also probably has enough oomph to it to travel.
It has more mass.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean the divot on a golf ball actually make a difference. With aerodynamics and everything. So I mean, there's just like with anything else that's flying through the air, each company has their own secret sauce. So
pretty amazing. I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner, and maybe this will be an overload of golf, but I have a good friend who is a long driver. Like, I don't know if you could call him a professional long driver, meaning he competes in these big tournaments I don't know how much I know he wins money from them. I don't know if he wins first place all the time, but he's a legit competitor. This is the same guy a few episodes back. I think I edited out of the episode, but that I told you he's one of only 2 people to hit a home run out of my high school's giant tall fence. The dude can drive a ball. Just a legend in our area. So maybe I'll have to hit up good old Richard and see what he's up to these days. Okay, John. Well,
edit this out, but I'm going to refrain from making jokes about that.
Which part?
His name is Richard, and he knows how to hit balls.
I'm leaving it. No, I will edit it out. I'll save your reputation of being a kind.
It's more of keeping this kid friendly.
Yes, I like that. I think we do a good job of that. Okay, John. So you've already won the episode, so we might as well just go home at this point, right? No, we are going to finish because now it's about learning. Where we'll see if you can go 4 for 5. We haven't had a performance like that in a while. So you're 3 for 4 going into the last question on not golf but on pigeons. So which of the following is not an actual name of a breed of pigeon? As we know, there are many breeds of pigeons within the domestic world. 3 of these are real. 1 is made up. Which is the made up one? Is it helmet pigeons, nun pigeons, ice pigeons, or horse pigeons?
And for those that don't know which kind of nun he's talking about the one that have habits.
The habits that they wear on their heads.
Yes, N-U-N, not N-O-N-E.
Yes, N-U-N, like the Catholic nun pigeons.
I'm just gonna take a stab in the dark and go with helmet. I have no answer. Yeah.
You're just gonna take, and you got the win under your belt already. So you're saying helmet pigeons is not the name of a breed of a pigeon. That is incorrect. And in fact, John, helmet pigeons are, fun fact about me, my favorite kind of pigeon. Helmet pigeons are the pigeon. When I think about pigeons personally, this is the image that comes to mind. This is a pigeon that, first of all, there are 344 different species of pigeons. So I've listed 3 of them here. The correct answer, which is not a breed of pigeon, is the horse pigeon. And part of the reason I threw that in was because of the fact about Maurice Sendak, the author of Where the Wild Things Are, not being able to draw horses, and my classmate in high school selling horse pictures, and I just thought, let's bring the horses back and say a horse pigeon. Helmet pigeons they're predominantly white in color. They have a little bit, they're either brown, I believe they can be black as well. They have basically looks like a brown helmet on their head. The top of their heads, the bald part of their heads are brown, and then there's tail feathers that are brown. In fact, I have I believe on the belt that I alluded to earlier, there's a helmet pigeon, and I have.
Do you ever shake the tail feathers?
I will tell you that these pigeons do. They are tail feather shakers. So yeah, I have a painting of a little small painting of a helmet pigeon. Helmet pigeons 1000% are like what I think of when I think of my grandpa. I don't have any tattoos, but I've always thought the front runner for getting one would be a pigeon, and it would 10,000% be a helmet pigeon. So there's my my little homage to my grandpa. Ice pigeons are very cool. I had not heard of ice pigeons. I don't believe my grandpa had any of these, but they're kind of an ice blue color. Pale gray is what they're officially listed as, but they appear to be even lighter than they actually are because they're down. Their feathers are they call them powder. It's kind of like the plumage is like light, and so it gives it sort of a powdery look. They look very cool. I'd love to learn more about them. And then the nun pigeon, this may be what I'm confusing with the helmet pigeon. Maybe my grandpa had nun pigeons because they're very similar to the helmet pigeon. Their bodies are white, but they have black tail feathers that they also shake. And it's not just the top of their head. It's almost like they're wearing a habit, like a nun wears like a little headdress over them. So down to their kind of chest is all black. They're very beautiful looking pigeons. They're very beautiful birds, and they obviously get their name nun from looking like they look like they're dressed like a nun. They look like Whoopi Goldberg in oh God, what is that movie called?
Sister Act.
Thank you. I thought this was going to be another Schitt's Creek episode. yes. They look like they could be thrown right into Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg from 1990, whatever. Okay, John. Thank you for humoring me.
Last question.
Yes, bring it home. Let's see if I can at least get 2 right in this quiz.
How many clubs is a golfer allowed in their bag during play? So, there's a ton of different clubs out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can only have so many.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 14, 15, 16, or 17?
That's amazing. I guess I shouldn't be surprised to know that this is a thing. I would, well, the golfers themselves aren't carrying it. Their caddies are, so I guess they wouldn't really care how many are in there. When I'm doing the pitch and putt course that I told you about, we're literally just carrying around. Each of us has a whatever, like a wedge and a putter, and we're just carrying. We don't even have bags. We definitely don't have caddies. Well, I mean, again, since it doesn't really matter, I'm going to choose the lowest one. I'm going to say 14. Why not? Everything's good. I just thank you for that. I dropped a lamp, and maybe it was a sign that I got the right answer right. Who knows? But yes, yay, I got
Only if it turned on.
It did not turn on, yeah. So I guess it whatever. But all right, so 14.
No, it's 14.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I don't know why that number was selected. But it was.
Yeah.
So,
cool. Good to know. Good to know. Favorite golf movie? Is it Happy Gilmore? Are you a golf movie goer?
Not normally. I know there's the one with Will Smith. I don't remember if I've actually seen that or not.
Yes, Boggs something. Yeah.
No, it's Legend of Bagger Vance.
Yeah, Bagger Vance. Yeah, that's what I meant when I said Boggs something.
I mean, Happy Gilmore is definitely the one that sticks out the most in my mind.
Totally. Yeah.
So.
Caddyshack gets a shout out for sure. I know.
Yeah,
a lot of people love
Caddyshack.
Yeah, I mean, Happy Gilmore literally is like number 1 on my list of movies of all time. So clearly my favorite golf movie. I also remember as a kid with my good friend Michael Moretti. Shout out to Michael. I know at least his wife sometimes listens, or at least she follows us on social media. He and I made a golf video when we were kids that was just a lot of like, we hit the ball, and then it's a lot of like, it's stop and go, and we stop the camera, and then we go again, and we throw the ball across the screen, and we're like, there's like announce, oh, and there it goes, and now it's going here, and we thought we were so clever with the ways that the golf ball was going. So, anyways,
yeah. Well, I've got a friend. He occasionally films, like runs a camera for like NFL games down in Indy.
Cool.
And he said one time that the best way to practice, following the football with a camera is to go to a driving range and follow golf balls.
Wow, that is so cool. And it would be amazing if somebody listening to this is like, oh yeah, I've had to do, if they're camera operators. Because I will say, anytime I watch golf, I see them following the ball, and a lot of times I'm just like, I'm trusting
How?
that the ball is there.
Right.
Like I don't see it, but yeah, also the how of it. It's you got to really have a sharp eye. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean, I don't think it's like hockey, where they put like a sensor in the puck and it lights up on the screen for you. I mean, who knows?
Does professional hockey do that now? Have they been doing that for a while?
They did. I don't know if they still do. Um,
I wonder if
Yeah.
that's a way that I'm sure players would be very against this, but you could increase ratings if you had like a light up puck because it's easier to follow, or neon green puck.
Right.
I don't know. That's a whole. We'll have to do something about hockey because that's a
Oh, yeah.
whole nother. I admittedly am not the biggest hockey fan, and part of it is because it's so I fall into that category of it's just too hard to follow. It's just all of
Yeah.
a sudden everyone's screaming and they scored a goal, and I know that it takes a ton of strategy and a ton of skill, but it looks like luck every single time,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm fully aware that it's not. But to me, that's what it looks like. And so
Right.
unless I'm watching the Mighty Ducks and I'm seeing that they scored because of the knuckle puck or because of the Statue of Liberty play, like I don't get it otherwise. So
Yeah.
maybe me even saying this is putting it out to the world. If you know hockey, come on and teach me, quiz us. And also a good segue to those that are listening. Don't forget, you post a picture of golf. You're at the driving range. You got a tee in your house. You see a pigeon on the street. You got a pigeon tattoo. Take a picture of it. Post it on socials. Tag us. All of our socials are listed at lackofgenius.com. But you know how to use socials. Just search for Lack of Genius Podcast. You'll see us. You know our logo. And you'll get that logo in sticker form if you're one of the first 3 to post it and tag us. We'd love to see you and know that you're listening and send you some stuff to represent us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Where's your Lack of Genius sticker, John? Is it stuck on something?
No, I haven't, but M has stuck one on her water bottle.
Yes, as has my sister. Hers is on her water bottle. Mine is currently on the laptop that I'm looking at right now. I put it. I mean, I it's not that I'm anti-Apple, but I put it on
Right.
the Apple logo because that seemed to
Yeah.
be a good place for it. It looks great. I would love to know where your stickers are once you receive them after you win from us. So go.
Yeah, take
go on
pictures
your
of them.
Yes, yeah. Tag your Lack of Genius stickers too.
Yeah.
Just give us all the attention that we crave, okay? That's all we're asking for. We all jokes aside, we appreciate you for listening. We appreciate you for
We do.
participating. We're gonna come back next week and we're gonna knock it out of the park again.
Mhm.
There's that
We'll
vote
try.
of confidence, John. We'll catch you later. See ya.
See ya.